Haha, just kidding, it's me, Ted. I'm sorry, I blacked out for a month. I woke up in a cornfield in Missouri, and I had to walk all the way back, which is, if you look at Google, it's a 24-day walk. Why? Because I like the challenge, obviously, and I'm on the no-fly list. I have a story for you guys today. I just remembered it last week, and I don't know why I haven't talked about it up until this point. Before we do that, though, you know what to do. Have you ever been in a situation that you originally thought was going to be fantastic, and then it just turned out to be miserable? It ends up being a quick trip to hell. High five Lil Nas as he's going down the strip pole. I was in a live studio audience once for a CBS show in 2018, and it was probably one of the most miserable experiences that I have had as an audience member ever. Let's talk about it. I've probably mentioned this before on like a podcast or something, but way back in 2018, before I actually moved to Los Angeles, I was able to do a semester for my college in LA. The people who run the LA program at my alma mater had organized a bunch of like welcome to Hollywood type events when you first move there. And one of them was to be present in a live studio audience for the shooting of a TV show that was actually going to go on broadcast television. The big bucks, the prime time. I suppose the purpose of it was something along the lines of, hey, welcome to Los Angeles. This is the environment that you can work in thanks to us and this $200,000 fucking receipt. Listen, guys, I paid a lot of money for this. I'm gonna flash it every chance I get, okay? Take it from me, guys. Don't go to college. Become a YouTuber. Make a Mr. Beast style video giving away all your parents' assets and then go live in the woods like a bear. The only people who could find you are the IRS, right? So bring a gun. Either way, this sounded like a really cool opportunity. I had never been in a live studio audience before, and I don't think a lot of people have. And I was curious why at the beginning of every episode of True Jackson VP, they would say, this episode of True Jackson VP was filmed in front of a live studio audience. Like, why does that matter? Little film brain me was curious on like how these sets were run, how the director worked with the actors, just what the general vibe on set was. Needless to say, going into the situation, my hopes were high. Spoiler alert for later, my hopes should not have been that high. All of these production studios, Universal, NBC, they take themselves a little seriously. I think that part of that is probably justified since a lot of these companies have been doing business in this industry for literally almost a century. For instance, when I was preparing to do the in-person shoot with Daniel in my last video, I had to go to Universal Pictures and get tested in person at the studio. I had to give my name beforehand. I had to go through a fucking security gate. They checked my license. Very similar vibes to entering something akin to a fucking military base. So when we get there, there's this whole process to get into the live studio audience situation for the shoot. We go through a whole security thing like it's the airport. And then we're put in like a fucking line, like we're kindergartners. And we were led through the studio by what I assume to be the most salt dog PA that I have ever seen in my entire life. Microphone on her head, fucking 17 walkie-talkies on her belt. She looked like she ate a bowl of nails for breakfast.
Without any milk.
And this makes sense. They don't exactly know what sort of people they're bringing in to be audience members in their very expensive studio. If you let some random schmuck run amok in a studio, he's gonna start setting shit on fire. Arson is a very popular crime. Look at the data. So the show that was being filmed was a pilot episode of this new sitcom that was being developed called Happy Together. The premise of this show was about a couple that lives a very normal life in LA. The husband works as an accountant, and this couple's whole world is thrown upside down when one of the husband's clients, music superstar Cooper James, decides to come to their home and ask to seek refuge after he had broken up with his famous girlfriend. And the paparazzi was fucking after him. Drama! Conflict! That's what we like in a show like this. We love drama. We love conflict. We love just some of that. Oh, that's conflict right there. It's sort of an interesting premise. Obviously, there's some confusing aspects to it, such as why is this music superstar going to seek refuge at the house of someone that he only sees during tax season, also known as once a year? But the show has a great cast. You've got some reputable names such as Damon Wayans Jr., who at this time in 2018 was just coming off of his time in New Girl. You've got Chris Parnell, aka Hello, the dad from Rick and Morty. It's a great cast, so I'm very excited to see what the whole deal is with this live studio audience. So we get seated in the audience. It's sort of what I expected of a live studio audience. I don't really know what I expected, but it was basically just a bunch of chairs put on some collapsible risers. They've got a bunch of microphones hanging down, pointing right at the seats to do you know what. Capture the laughter. The live studio audience experience, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Everything is fine and dandy. We're getting comfortable in our chairs. I'm on cloud 9, and I'm ready to see what this thing is all about. Then a man comes onto the stage, and he's got a microphone. I cannot remember who this man was, but what I do know is that he was 75% responsible for ruining my day. Essentially, what CBS had done is that they had hired a random comedian to come in and be basically the head of production at the Laugh Factory. What I mean by this is that his entire goal and purpose was to make sure that we were willing and ready to laugh at the same jokes over and over again, without a moment to think. Don't get me wrong. I knew that there was an expectation that we were supposed to laugh at all of the jokes that were being said. They've got the microphones pointed at us for a reason. I had my fake laugh prepared. Ha 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 ha! Nice. That's what I was gonna do the whole time. What I did not know is that every single time that the cameras were not rolling, he was going to be talking to us, like non-stop. But not only that, he was a big fan of audience participation, unwilling audience participation. He's calling out random people like he's a philosophy professor that just made tenure, all right? He's fucking ruthless. He would involve you whether you wanted to be involved or not, asking you questions like, hey, where you from? Where you from? I'm from Idaho? Oh, Idaho. Huh? A lot of corn there. Am I right? A lot of corn there, folks. I'm just joshing with you. All right, you can sit down. You can sit down. No problem. No problem. You guys having a good time? Now, this conflicts with my original goals when I came here, because whenever the cameras were not rolling, I wanted to see what the crew were doing. I wanted to see the directors working with the actors. I wanted to see the sleep-deprived production assistant snorting coke. That's where the money's at for me. But now I'm worried if I don't keep my eyes on this guy who's calling out people at random like it's the fucking Hunger Games, I'm gonna get lambasted for not paying attention to the little show that he's got going on here. I was afraid he was going to single me out and be like, this guy isn't laughing enough. And then he's going to chloroform me with Joker gas. Not only that, but he's handing out gift cards to people who laugh the loudest, which means that the producers know that the show cannot stand on its own and that they have to bribe the audience in order to get them to laugh properly. Also, is this an assembly at an elementary school? During this period, I would categorize the audience into maybe 3 different categories. You've got the tryhards, the people who are pretty much saying to themselves, this is my moment. I'm gonna have my voice star on live broadcast television. They are also the people that like to make their voices especially unique so that their voice will show up in the episode later and they can point it out to their friends. Very funny. That was a real laugh, okay? That was real. What are you talking about that wasn't real? Then you've got the second group of people, which is the 5% of people that genuinely find the jokes that are being said in the show funny. And they're laughing, even after the 4th take. And we love those people, honestly. They're sort of a comedian's dream. And then finally, you find the category that I found myself in, which was the group of people that were doing just enough laughter to satisfy the laugh gods in order to survive. Another thing that the audience coordinator was doing, because I don't remember if they had a laugh sign or not, was whenever it was time to laugh, he'd be something like this. But it was actually my mom. Ball sack. It was like pretty much his entire career depended on us giving laughter to these mediocre jokes. I was a little terrified for him, to be honest. They might have had like a bomb switch implanted in the back of his neck or something. Like the producers are looking through some one-sided glass with their hand over a button. Now you may think I'm being a bit dramatic over this whole thing, and in some ways I probably am. But consider this, friends. This went on for 5 hours. 5 hours of the same jokes being said over and over. Being in a situation where you feel obligated to have to laugh at them, and if you don't genuinely feel like laughing, you have to fake laughter. I wasn't even on camera, and I was acting for 5 hours straight, while all I could think about was the longing for the warmth of the sun on my face once more. For lack of a better term, when you're involved in a live studio audience, you are essentially treated like a commodity. And you pretty much are. You are there to give the producers what they want, which is hacking and guffawing at jokes like these.
Should we watch this next episode? Or should we do what we normally do on Saturday nights?
Unload the dishwasher?
Nice. Now, finally, why don't we talk about the jokes in this episode? Because I'm sure that you guys are wondering why I had such a problem with the writing of this episode and why it became so miserable to hear these jokes over and over. Also, keep in mind that whenever you hear the laugh track for this episode, you are hearing my laughter mixed in there somewhere. As I've said before, this show is basically about a young music superstar that for some reason decides to live with his accountant to get away from the LA lifestyle. Someone that I assume that he has the most surface level relationship with, because this is his wife's reaction when she opens the door.
Hi, is this Jake's house?
Oh, that's Cooper James.
So she's never met this guy before, ever. There's also this one part of the episode where Cooper James tries a toaster strudel and he doesn't know what it is.
Oh my god.
Right.
Oh my god.
Yup.
Where? This is the best thing ever. What would someone call this?
Someone would call that a toaster strudel.
I'm pretty sure that even if he was the son of a Saudi prince, he would have some contextual understanding of what a toaster strudel is. He's a pop star. Then, of course, you've got the classic tropes, right? You got the alcoholic mom that is retired and an alcoholic and doesn't give a shit about anything.
I was making smoothies for us this morning, and I realized I didn't have enough vodka, so...
I know you guys are doctors and everything, but is it possible that you're drinking too much?
Jake, everyone knows that you can't be an alcoholic if you're retired.
And then you've got every single person entering rooms unannounced at just the right time.
Holy crap, it's Riley Connors.
Yeah, it's just some fluff piece. But man, look at her butt. I just want to bite it. Harr, harr, harr. Why?
Claire!
Jake!
Jake!
Mom, Dad, what are you doing here?
I spent some time trying to lock eyes with the actors because I know that every single time one of these guys said one of those weak jokes and then they held for one of our canned laughter moments, there's a connection there, right? In which practically every single person in this room, the directors, the crew, the actors, the audience, did not find the jokes funny, but we were all part of this elaborate scheme to pretend that it was, which is a little Black Mirror if you think about it. Why are we even still doing this live studio audience thing? It seems like a really outdated medium. I don't know if you know this, but the last episode of Friends aired in 2004. I was still beating the shit out of kids for taking my Legos off of the save shelf in elementary school. I mean, I still do that now, but it was much more prevalent then. Maybe I'm being a bit dramatic. I mean, chances are I'm being incredibly dramatic. But when something happens 3 years ago and all of these aspects are the main things that I remember, that's gotta mean something, right? That I was sitting in a dimly lit audience, paralyzed, as I am forced to feign laughter for the fat cats of the 1%, for profit and gain, sitting in their ivory towers, sipping a Kettle One martini, dry, dirty, 2 olives, and laughing it up because they made $1 million off of a fucking sitcom whose only audience is an old man rotting away in a stained chair, waiting until their children visit them, but they won't visit them because they've got a big job in the city and they've got budget reports to make. Maybe it's not that bad. Call your parents. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video detailing my experience of a live studio audience. Obviously, I have to mention that not every single live studio audience experience is going to be like this. And it's not like the audience coordinator had any malicious intent whatsoever. He's just there to do his job. That's the same thing with the actors. They're just there to make some money. All of these people are just trying to do their job and just make a buck. LA rent is fucking expensive. What's the reason why these really great actors are there? It's just a check. You know? But what I found much more profound was that I felt like I was witnessing the last dying breaths of a very prevalent format of TV that has been absolutely beaten into the ground by just tropes and bad writing. I don't know. That was my personal perception of the whole thing, but take it as you will. Thanks so much for listening to this story, folks. And now, a message from our sponsor. Hey folks, this video is sponsored by SimpliSafe. SimpliSafe is an incredibly effective home security system that will keep your place safe. If you've been interested in setting up some sort of home security, but you don't want to deal with the whole process of having someone come in and set it up in your home with all the complicated wires and crap, you don't have to wait another gosh darn minute, okay? It's right in the name. SimpliSafe makes it super easy to secure your home. It's simply safe. You just order it online or over the phone, and it gets delivered to your house and you can set it up in under an hour. From that point on, your home is professionally monitored 24/7. If anything happens, the monitoring system makes sure that the police get called. They've got sensors to cover every single window, room, and door. Plus, there's a lot of great extras such as HD cameras and temperature sensors. It is literally just 50 cents a day with no contracts. SimpliSafe sent me some of their home security product, and it is quite literally just as easy as they say it is to set up. Right here, you've got the base station, which is essentially acts as the brain of the system as well as the main siren for the whole security. Here you have one of the HD cameras that can detect movement and also record footage. And here's a video I have of me arming the keypad that I have set up right next to my door.
SimpliSafe on.
They've also got a bunch of items such as motion detectors, smoke detectors, and a doorbell camera. I've even tested some of the sensors that they provided, and they do in fact work. If you'd like to learn more, then please visit simplisafe.com/Ted Nivison. Once again, that's simplisafe.com/Ted Nivison. Thanks so much to SimpliSafe for sponsoring this video, and have a wonderful day, guys.